Tea Partiers rejoiced over the elections 2 weeks ago. Most of their favorite candidates had the Mama Grizzly in their corner when they won. But now the thriller from Wasilla is fighting someone who is not even running for elective office, Federal Reserve Chairman Ben Bernanke. Former Governor Sarah Palin joins us now. Governor, thank you for returning to Freedom Watch. Thanks for being our first guest on our first daily show, and thanks for being here in the studio.
Thank you. It's my honor. Thanks, Judge.
What do people need to know about what the Federal Reserve is doing? What do they need to understand will happen to the money in their wallets and in their bank accounts, even to the value of their assets, if the Fed floods billions into the money supply?
If the Fed starts printing money out of thin air, which is basically what quantitative easing is, printing money without anything to back up that piece of currency, yes, our dollar will be devalued. Our savings accounts, our retirement accounts, all of that will be devalued. And you couple that with what's going on today with commodity prices going on. You talked a little bit about chocolate, some problems there, and I'm hearing about like coffee, commodity prices like coffee beans going up 40%. Well, we're going to look at inflation is what we're going to see as a result of the quantitative easing, commodity prices going up, and then the unpredictable volatility of the world. There could be an activity that takes place that really drives inflation.
There's a supermarket out near where I live, which is owned by staunch libertarians, one of the reasons I'm happy to shop there. And he posts signs about what items cost a year ago. Now, I didn't even realize this. Milk is up 13 cents a gallon since last Thanksgiving. And you were telling me about baby formula. Do you think that the consumer recognizes the insidious role that the government itself plays in causing the value of the dollar to go down and the price of everything to go up?
Yeah, I think that the public does understand that because many of us are studiers of history and we see what has gone on in our country and in other countries over all these years. We see what can work, we see what doesn't work. If Germany even is a country that today is warning us that quantitative easing and printing this money out of thin air, that we better rethink what the Fed is doing right now. If even Germany is warning us, then that is a signal that we need to step back and that the public has a right to question what the Fed is doing.
The public has a right to question what the Fed is doing. You and I have talked before about how the Fed should be audited. Our mutual friend Congressman Ron Paul and our mutual friend Senator Jim DeMint proposed legislation to have it audited. It was oh so close to getting passed. They knocked it out in a conference committee after it had passed both houses of Congress. Now, Congressman Ron Paul is about to become chair of a subcommittee on monetary policy from the House Financial Services Committee. He can issue a subpoena to Ben Bernanke and say, Mr. Chairman, come over here. And by the way, bring all your books and records with you. Should he do that?
He certainly should, and we should support Ron Paul doing this because the Fed, the way that it's going today, at some point here, especially with the quantitative easing that we see, number two, we're going to see about $3 trillion on the Fed's books. That's about 20% of our GDP. We're going to be in the same category as Japan. 23% of their GDP it was manipulated through their monetary policy that was changed kind of the same way that we're doing this. And, we're going to be in the same category as Japan, which is known for having this weak decade lost because of the things that they're doing. We're repeating what it is that they're doing, which was failure.
I suspect that we both read a great book called 1984.
Oh, gosh.
A harrowing, terrifying view of the future, written right at the end of World War II by George Orwell, a British socialist, by the way. One of the things that he complains about in there is newspeak, creating new words to mean things. So we have this quantitative easing. What it really is the Federal Reserve creating money out of thin air and shoving it into the marketplace. They call it quantitative easing so that it will sound like it's fancy and good, and if the government's doing it, it must be good. But people need to know what it really is.
They need to know what it is and how Orwellian it really is. And I think, Judge, what you're doing and what hopefully I get to participate in too is speaking in layman's terms, explaining, especially to the young people, what is going on with the Federal Reserve. And hang in there with me when I talk about this, how important it is that the young people realize that we need to start asking, where did our country start going wrong in terms of penalizing the productive, in terms of being prejudiced against those who are the job creators, the wealth owners, because they are the ones who are most productive in a lot of sense, and they are to be rewarded for their work ethic. And instead, what Obama, Pelosi, Reid are doing, they're prejudiced against these job creators. They're punishing them, and that's eroding the work ethic that we hopefully will be raising our children with.
Of course, I couldn't agree with you more. But why do you think the president wants to raise taxes on the high earners, the people who invest and the people who create jobs? Those are the last people whose money should be taken away.
Because he's very, very backwards in his thinking when it comes to what the problem is in our economy. And the problem, of course, is with the joblessness that we suffer from today. He thinks that it is a taxing problem, that we need more taxes in order to close deficit and reduce debt. No, we have a spending problem, obviously. We have government overreach, we have government intrusion into our businesses, not allowing us to reinvest according to our own priorities so that we can take care of our families, our businesses, help in our communities, and get the economy roaring back to life.
Now, I usually go to bed early on Sunday night. But last night, of course, I watched, along with many, many other people, Sarah Palin's Alaska. I love this one line. We're going to put it up on the screen now, and then I'm going to ask you if there was a little bit of hidden meaning when you were talking about watching mama bears. Take a look.
I love watching these mama bears. They've got a nature, that humankind can learn from. She's trying to show her cubs. Nobody's going to do it for you. Right. You get out there and do it yourself, guys.
Nobody's going to do it for you. Were you talking about the government when you said that, or was it at least in the back of your mind?
Oh, you're going to see all these subtleties all throughout the next 8 episodes where, I'm sending some messages out there. Yeah, what I see in a bear or any other species in their natural habitat, they are self-sufficient. They're not sitting around waiting for somebody else to catch that salmon for them and feed them. The mama grizzlies are taking care of their cubs to make sure that the species can continue. But no, everybody's expected to help themselves in order to perpetuate the species and the success of.
The government, the people that run the federal government today, do not have that attitude. They think that they know what's best for us. They want to regulate our behavior, and they'd love us to be reliant on them, don't you think?
It is arrogant. It is a ruling class. It is a disassociated, disconnected governance that we are under right now, and that's why the Tea Party movement was so beautiful, and that's why I'm so excited about the success of these midterm elections. We elected people who are saying, hey, government, we're not asking much from you. We just want you to get off our back. We want more of a laissez-faire type governance, and let us reinvest according to our own priorities, and we promise you the private sector will be the one that gets the economy roaring.
Are you worried that some of the Tea Party folks will be co-opted by the big government establishment? Now, hear me out. I am talking to the one person in the country who single-handedly took on the big government, good old boys establishment in her home state. You were the mayor of a small town that most of the country had never heard of when you kicked out a sitting incumbent Republican governor because he was part of the good old boys establishment. Fast forward to this past year. A lot of Republicans did that. Rand Paul did it in Kentucky. Marco Rubio did it in Florida. Are you worried that some of these now congresspersons-elect and senators-elect, not Rand Paul, but maybe Marco Rubio, might be co-opted by the establishment that they kicked out?
Oh, God, I just hope that they will not be. And no, I have a lot of faith that they have the confidence, the wherewithal to stay true to their principles and not compromise on principle. But what they can do is learn a little bit from what I went through over the last 20 years from local